Hello, and welcome to another episode of our brilliant little podcast, the Bulletin broadcast. I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Greg.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody, and Dan.
Hello.
Hello. So this week, we are doing the old flipperoonie on a previous episode, and instead of discussing films based on games, we are discussing games based on films. Yeah,
which was Dan's idea, and he has forgotten that it was his idea. So I'm going to buy him time because I've been thinking all about this because I prepare for this podcast like an actual hero. So I mean, I'm happy to jump right in.
I mean, by all means, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff.
Go on, Greg.
So I'm going to start with one that I've actually been playing this week. Okay, video games, right, guys?
Ooh.
I've been playing Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, the video game. Okay? Have either of you played it?
I have not.
Okay.
No, I don't think
I didn't
so.
even know that this existed, to be honest.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's on Brits and Suits if you want to watch me and Aussie play it. It's such a surprisingly good game. Like you wouldn't think it would be, because a lot of the time movie games, they're not all great. I mean, I've got loads of great examples today with me, and that's perhaps going to distort your perception of this stuff, but this is actually a game that holds up really well. It's a lot of fun. You basically play through the events of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, the film, if everyone here is familiar with the concept of Star Wars. And actually, it's fun because the game itself came out possibly a month or two. Forgive my dog, it's found cardboard and it's making a lot of noise. It came out about a month or two before the actual film. So there's loads of events from the film in the game, but it's almost like they hadn't agreed on the final cut of events in the film. So the game kind of adds in detail which actually makes more sense than the final cut of the film that they went with.
Oh, wow. So there's, like, stuff that was deleted from the final cut of the movie.
I mean, I don't know if it's so much deleted as they sort of settle on a version of events that makes a bit more sense. So,
Oh, okay.
like, I don't know if you guys remember the classic scene when Mace Windu and the other Jedi that die immediately turn up to arrest Chancellor Palpatine, and he claims that he is the Senate and all of that stuff. Anakin turns up in the film and it's just like, I need him, he deserves a trial. And Mace Windu's just like, no, he literally is a Sith, he controls everything. And Anakin's like, no, and then he attacks him, like lops off his arm. In the game, I can't remember the specific events, but it's like Anakin literally is just like, this isn't going to work, this isn't the Jedi way, you can't just assassinate people, this isn't okay. And Mace Windu comes across like the dickhead in the actual video game version of events. It makes way more sense for Anakin's character, a guy who is a Jedi Knight, to be upset that Mace Windu's going against the Jedi way right here.
So it's like almost like Anakin was retaliation in the game.
Yeah, I mean, the game sets up Anakin's fall to the Sith in a way that makes more sense.
Oh, that's disheartening a bit, isn't it?
It is a bit disheartening. And also there's an alternate ending where you can play as Anakin instead of Obi-Wan. You basically play as Anakin and or Obi-Wan, depending on the mission. And at Mustafar at the end, you can choose to play as Obi-Wan or Anakin. And if you play as Anakin, of course you win, which means he, at the very end of the game, kills Chancellor Palpatine and goes, no, the galaxy belongs to me. And like all the clones are just like, yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
That would have been a very different movie.
So different. It completely fucks up the original trilogy canon, but it is a
Oh,
fun
of course,
idea.
yeah. See, so when we was thinking about this, when I was thinking about this episode, a couple of games come to mind that I look back and I don't know why I ever played them, but I remember having fun playing them. So the first game I remember playing based on a film was the game version of the Michael Caine Italian Job movie.
What?
I don't know why I had a copy of this on my PS1.
Okay,
but
Googling it now.
I had a copy of it, and it was it was in a similar vein to like the Driver games on the PS1. So it was essentially just a mission of drive around the town and get to destination, but you actually, the reason I loved it is because you actually played the final heist mission at the end of the game. And so you had to set up the traffic jam and then go through the tunnels, and you could go upside down in the Mini and all of that stuff. And maybe it is pure nostalgia because I haven't looked at the game since I was about 9. However, in my heart, I'm like, yeah, that game's fucking that game rips. It's so fucking good.
It's basically exclusively a car game.
Yeah. You literally the whole principle of the game follows the movie. Surprise, surprise. And you're just driving from point to point, effectively getting to know the area that you are about to rob, and scoping places and working out how you're going to do it. And I think I bought it because I enjoyed the Driver game. And I was like, oh, it's another game like driving, like that looks fun. But I mean, I may have to revisit it, see if I can get a copy, because I guarantee it's nowhere near as good as I remember it being.
I mean, I don't want to pre-prepare you for disappointment, but I've replayed James Bond games from many years ago that I adored at the time, and the driving sections especially do not hold up. Wow, they do not hold up. So a game that is all driving sections from PS1 era probably doesn't hold up.
I'm going to have to buy it just to prove you wrong now.
I mean, prove me wrong, prove me right, put it in a video. Oh, what? You did a video this week, didn't you, Ben? Which I thought, is that a new series? What was it called? Sorry, but Animal Crossing is crap or something.
It was just a piece I wrote about Animal Crossing being overrated, which...
I'm going to make a video, sorry, but Italian Job's crap.
Oh, man.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be videos out there that I think it's just reviews of the game.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. It was just, that was just a spur of the moment piece. Like, I do enjoy the game, don't get me wrong, but... It's nowhere near perfect. I think it was kind of spurred on from the fact that it got nominated for Game of the Year.
Italian Job, the video game?
Yes.
Wow.
No, I'm talking Animal Crossing I'm talking about.
Oh, I see. Okay. Who nominated it for Game of the Year? Was it Nintendo?
No, it's
Ben.
So the Game Awards do like a fan vote, basically.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to listen to fans. They're idiots.
But talking about, so you were talking about Bond games. Have you replayed GoldenEye?
Yeah.
I never cared for GoldenEye. That aiming?
Oh, it was, to be fair, the stick on the Nintendo 64 did not help.
So,
I mean, yeah, go on, Dan.
I replayed it not so long ago. It must have been a few years ago now, and so I was a GoldenEye lover, but that was because I played it on its first iteration. I'm a very old man, so it was kind of the first ever multiplayer first-person shooter, really. It was kind of the COD of its day because we didn't have anything else, and it was phenomenal. It was so much fun to play as a group. We used to, take cardboard to the screen so you couldn't cheat and all sit in a different corner of the TV. But I don't know how we played it because I tried to play it recently and just having one stick,
it's awful.
It was nigh on impossible. I physically couldn't do it just because I'm so used to playing with two sticks now. It was so difficult just moving around the screen. I have a lot of respect for Mini Dan that was able to play it many years ago.
The one thing that always stuck out to me for GoldenEye was the fact that you could make their heads really big. I don't know why that stuck with me. There was like a cheat that you could put in that effectively made all the enemies have massive heads, and you could just roam around the map, like around the level, just fucking headshotting people with ease.
Yeah, used to love that mode. There was a paintball mode as well, which was great fun.
Oh, bloody hell. See, now, talking about Bond, I actually, this morning, I realised I own a copy of Quantum of Solace on Xbox 360.
How did that work out? Have you played it?
I have played it, yeah. I played it. Me and Ellie played it, actually.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, this isn't bad.
Did you think this isn't good?
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not good. I wouldn't recommend that you play it, but
It's okay.
it's all right. You know, it's okay. It made for a fun little game.
Did anyone play Agent Under Fire on the PS2?
I
What even-
certainly did.
What even is that?
I think it was the first Bond game on the PS2. And like Greg was saying earlier, it was kind of a mix of shooting sections and driving sections. And that, I think that was actually my favourite Bond game over GoldenEye, because I always remember the Christmas that I got my PS2 and I got the first Devil May Cry and Agent Under Fire with it. And God, I love that game. It was just so much fun. I remember replaying it on all the different difficulties to get all the different cheats and stuff. And yeah, I went back to that one as well not so long ago, and it is really not very good.
I was to say, from the screenshots I'm looking at on Google, it doesn't look much different to GoldenEye.
Well, I mean, it was
It probably
kind
handles a lot better.
Yeah, it's twin stick, which is nice. You can actually use both the sticks to control it. I don't know. I think it might be just like I say, the nostalgia, and it was back when we were younger, when we were kids, and well, when I was a kid, you kind of games were expensive, and there wasn't as much. I don't want to say there wasn't as much choice, because there was like 140 million PS2 games, but it was. I don't know. I feel like when you're younger and you haven't got your own kind of money to go out and buy them, even if you get bought a proper stinker, you stick with it, don't you? And I think that's
100%.
probably, I don't know, I can't, I don't know the circumstances of you getting in the Italian job, but it's probably a similar thing, I can't say it's crap because I got bought this, so I'm going to have to play
I think
it.
with the Italian job, right? Oh, God, like, I don't think I'm that old. Like, I'm 27, I'm nearly 28, but it feels like, it was 20 years ago, really, like 20 years ago, nearly. I remember being in Blockbuster, and we used to do a thing every Friday night. We used to go to Blockbuster and do movie night. And Blockbuster, the one near me, as you come in, it had this, like, clearance bin near the door. Where, like, old games and movies and stuff would be in, and they'd be stupidly cheap. It's just ones they can't rent anymore. They want to get rid of them.
All it was
was
just a bin full of Italian jobs.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember picking it up, and it was like...
I apologise for the street I live on.
They found you quick.
Yeah, your Skype account has been found.
Yeah. hear the mic hit the floor and then just silence from Greg's end.
No, G-spot's been found.
They found the G-spot.
I think it was like £2 the Italian job. And I said to my dad, I was like, I want it. And he was like, why? And I was like, I want it. He's like, you've never seen a movie. I was like, I want it. And he was like, fine, all right, fine. £2, fine. And I bought it and I loved it. And I refused to go back to it because I don't want my memory of it shattered. Have you managed to... Oh, you was talking about Agent Under Fire, wasn't you, Dan?
Was that a film? Agent Under Fire? I mean, there's like
I don't
literally
remember
47 Bond films, so it
No,
could be.
it wasn't. It was. It was. Yeah, I
Is
think
it one of the books,
It
maybe?
was just a standalone kind of generic. They made a few along that range. I can't remember who
There was Nightfire. I owned that one and played that one, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't a film.
Nightfire was the follow-up to Agent Under Fire, if I remember rightly. So, if you imagine that, but not as good because it's the first one, it's pretty much where it is. So I've just Googled it, and it's got a vaguely Pierce Brosnan silhouette on the front, but not enough to be copyright.
Yeah, that's what I noticed when I saw it.
Yeah, Nightfire has Pierce Brosnan in it, I think. Again, I replayed that not that long ago. I'm pretty sure it was him voicing it, but it sounded like it was him voicing it down a phone line, like literally phoning it in. So it's hard to know. I've got another movie game. If we're happy to move on from James Bond,
of course, yeah.
Okay, I mean this one's a series because they are all interesting in their own ways. I say that I'm talking about like the first three, the Harry Potter movie games.
See, now I have Harry Potter on here, but I was very unsure of whether I should mention it or not.
Tell me more.
Just because J.K. Rowling's a bit of a cunt.
Wow, okay. Yeah, we're going straight for the modern day political discourse around the author.
Jugular.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, so I played a bit of Chamber of Secrets. I never played the Prisoner of Azkaban game, but I fucking loved, and I own a copy of that I may go and play soon, a copy of the Philosopher's Stone. And I loved that game with a passion.
Have you seen what it looks like with modern eyes, though?
No. I mean, PS1 era Hagrid is bad enough. I don't think he needs, like, updated eyeballs.
Gosh, the Philosopher's Stone game, it actually, it plays now like a mad what the heck. Like it makes no sense. Every single it's like a amped up to 11 version of the actual films, because you know how all of the staff are just like, oh, don't go into this corridor or you'll die. The game is worse. It's like Hagrid tells you to cross the lava pools to go and get a special bean and stuff like that, and you literally, it's just like, go into the ground and do this. And the game itself, it looks horrific. Its voice, and in a way that, like, it just feels like a descent into madness, and the actual missions themselves make no sense. It makes Hogwarts itself seem like a horrible, like, prison hell, especially for Harry, because all the other students seem to be fine getting to class by jumping on the flying, rotating cauldrons. But, like, only Harry is struggling, and, like, zoom in when a character suddenly talks to Harry. The cinematic is like, it will zoom right in on their face really quickly. It just makes everyone have this air of intensity, like, all of the time. I mean,
I think. So I follow a couple of kind of nostalgia accounts on Instagram, and they quite often throw out. There's like 3 games that are apparently the most amazing games that everyone loved from their childhood, and one of them is the Toy Story game, one of them is Simpsons Hit and Run, and one of them is the Harry Potter games. But I was a little bit older when Harry Potter kind of got massive, and I didn't, it wasn't really my thing. I didn't get the appeal, and my brothers had those games, and I played them very, very briefly, and they are horrific. Like Greg was saying, they're not even. It's not even like it's an okay game that a franchise is attached to. They are just a mess. They are all over the place, and I definitely think that is one that, people have the rose tinted glasses, like, but not even like rose tinted sunglasses, like Coke bottle thick.
Yeah,
glasses that they're looking back with, because they are not. It's not even. I didn't even find them remotely fun because they were just frustrating.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed them at the time, but I did when I managed to. I bought a PS1 and I bought a copy of Philosopher's Stone. I played it for about 10 minutes, and you literally, in the beginning of the game, there's like a section where Ron takes you through the school and you have to jump over these like gaps. They're like sort of these random stone blocks, and you have to jump from one to the other. And I spent literally 15 minutes trying to clear that section because the controls just control like dog shite. And in the end, I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't physically play this game anymore.
My most notable memory of that game was, so basically me and my brother played it religiously. We got it for a Christmas, I think, one year. And we played it so much, like over a couple of days, until we got into a certain room in Hogwarts. And it like saved in that room, but it was a room you couldn't get out of. So our save game was basically glitched and we had to start again.
Wow.
We spent an hour in like this little room using one of the two doors, the one we came in through, which was now inexplicably locked, and the only other one we could take, which leads into another room with no doors in it.
Is that the room with the mirror in?
No, it was just random.
It's just
there
a
was
random
nothing
one.
in the rooms. They were just unpopulated Hogwarts rooms.
Oh god, okay.
I mean, I'm going on like a 20-year-old memory now, but that's how it was in my mind.
I have two memories, and one of them is that it's awful, and the second one is lobbing gnomes or gremlins out of a garden for Hagrid.
That's the events of the second one. The first like 20 minutes of the second game, the second film game. Sorry.
You know, you get to like throwing your 4,000th one, and it's like, when is this going to end? It's painful.
I'm kind of glad that you mentioned the Toy Story game because I'd forgotten about that.
That's actually on my list. I recently replayed that as well.
Well, I feel
Is it
like
the Toy
we have a
Story
nice
2 or the
segue.
Toy Story 1 game?
Toy Story 2.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Oh, I love that game. And actually, I've played it. I literally just told you this. I have played it again recently. But actually, it holds up all right. Of all my old PS1 games, it's actually the one I was having genuine, non-nostalgia-based fun playing.
Wow, okay.
It held up okay.
Is it very strict in following the source material? Do you literally play out the story?
No, it is not strict in following the source material, which is a strength. Because in the actual Toy Story 2 film, I don't know if you guys have recalled, but it's about them going to save Woody when Woody he gets picked up by the collector guy, and so all of the toys gang up and go on this quest and stuff. In Toy Story 2, you are just Buzz Lightyear walking around various environments until you get to Woody and all of that stuff. And sometimes our favourite characters, Rex and Mr. Pig, Bankman and all of that, they just are around in the mission. They're like, hey, Buzz, come and have a look at this. And like Mr. Pig-based man is just like, let's have a race, or whatever. But apart from that, it's not actually very closely related. Only certain environments. I remember the standout mission being, do you guys remember in the film, there is the toy shop, Al's Toy Barn?
Yes.
That mission, in my mind, I loved that one. Because it had so much going on. There was like the Barbies, and there was the other Buzz Lightyears, and there was like Zurg toys like patrolling the area looking for you, as there are in all of the missions. There are just Zurg toys on the street and stuff.
Of course.
Fair.
Of course. It's a game that is definitely has got strong nostalgia hooks on my heart, but actually still holds up okay. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that it's great, but it does hold up okay.
Yeah, I mean, for a nearly, over 20-year-old game, I remember, oh man, yeah, really vivid memories of the Hercules game on PS1.
Oh, tell me more. Oh, I've remembered Tarzan now. You go on.
No, I remember playing Hercules and absolutely loving it. It was weird. It was like, I think...
Wasn't it more like the old... these were on my list as amazing. The old Aladdin and Lion King, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, it was like side-scrolling platform kind of game.
Yeah, I do remember it vaguely.
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know why I remember loving that game so much.
Yeah,
Same as Aladdin. I remember briefly playing Aladdin and enjoying that.
Yeah, they were my Yeah, they were probably my first ever kind of movies into games that I'd ever played. And I just remember absolutely adoring them. And I thought that was very much nostalgia, but I think they hold up quite well. I mean, they've just had a re-release actually, which I'm yet to pick up, like a full HD release. But I don't know why I remember loving them so much, because playing them recently, they are absolutely brutal. They're so difficult.
That's one thing I do remember.
Really, really hard. And I can't imagine that playing on a Mega Drive when I was, under 10, I ever got past the first level, because 30-year-old me struggled.
The kids have such great reflexes and also like so adaptive to learning stuff. Like young Dan and young Rick. I mean, when I was playing those PS1 games, I was getting my ass whooped by Toy Story 2. I'm just sitting there thinking, how did I play this as a child?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think, like, as a child, I mean, this is probably going to, like, whatever, but as a child, I was playing Metal Gear Solid. I was like 11 years old playing through that game.
Oh, I don't recall them making a film of that one.
They don't, but I'm just saying,
why
like,
are we
as a
talking
kid.
about
No, I'm saying,
it?
as a kid, you kind of, I can't imagine, like, if I'd never played a game like that now, I'd struggle. But as a kid, I think you just pick it up. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's how I do that.
What I can't imagine is Greg as a child. I always imagine that he was like a fully formed person in a three-piece suit.
Yeah, I had this image of, like, when Greg's born, he just kind of appeared in like a smoking jacket with a cup of tea in his hand.
Yeah.
It's like stars in their eyes just came out of a smoky doorway somewhere.
Yeah, it's a bit like the first 5 minutes of Assassin's Creed 2, when Ezio is born and you press X to like make his hands move and stuff like that. That was my birth, but with a suit and a cigar, like a lit cigar I came out with.
Oh man. Dan, do you actually have any more games? Because I know you was struggling a bit. It was like 40 years ago, so.
Oh, you're so rude.
Did they even have video games like back then, or is it just all in cut?
No, they had E.T. on the Atari, man.
It's funny you should say that. I was I was watching that high score documentary on Netflix, and yeah, E.T. nearly ruined the games industry for everyone. But
100%, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I actually have a recent one that I really enjoyed based on a franchise, but I think it's only loosely based on it. But Mad Max. I really like Mad Max. Did either of you
They
play
made a
that?
Mad Max game?
Yeah.
The recent game, the one that was published by Bethesda, I think.
Yeah, the PS4 one. I really, really liked that.
I heard good things about it.
Yeah, I mean, apart from Fury Road, I vaguely remember the original Mad Maxes, and I think it's only loosely related, but I think what I take from Mad Max is that they seem to do better when they use the kind of the lore and the world of a game, of a franchise, as opposed to trying to copy the film. And that's what Mad Max did. It was kind of, there was no water. You had all the crazy vehicles and crazy clans out there trying to kill you, but it didn't try to be like the movies. It was just, this is the world you live in. Let's go and kill everyone.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound terrible, to be honest.
It was like,
it's all right.
It played like the newer Batman games. That kind of chaining together the attacks and
the system that every game since Arkham bloody Asylum has ripped off, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Where it's all about kind of timing your parries and stuff, and it had a good mix of that kind of beating everybody up, and then there was a good mix of kind of gunplay and then obviously traversing the world in different crazy vehicles. And yeah, I just thought I thought I'd give it a shout out because it kind of suffered a little bit. Well, not to the same extent as Cyberpunk, but it suffered with being hyped up for quite a while because I think it was announced pre PS4 launch. It was kind of almost teased as a launch title. I don't think it came out at the same time. I think it was later, but everyone was, that new Mad Max looked amazing, and it just didn't do as well as they thought it was going to. But I think it deserves a shout out.
Another game, a game I remember really liking, this is the last one I have on my list actually, is a Matrix game.
Oh no.
I think it was Enter the Matrix on the original Xbox.
Yeah.
I can't remember why I looked it up a couple of months ago and it was awful, but in my mind it was amazing. I remember flipping off of walls as Trinity and all kinds of stuff and just absolutely loving it.
That was on my list as well because it was good at the time. It was good. I liked it. Like you say, it was, flipping around, doing the slow-mo and hiding behind. I remember there's a scene where you're in like a lobby and you're hiding behind pillars and bits of the pillars are smashing, and there's a scene in the film, isn't there, where it's all slow-mo and there's bits of marble
they're going
everywhere.
to rescue Morpheus,
something like that, and they do the same in the game. But what I thought was really cool about the game is they tried to make it like so you played as the two characters, what were their names? Ghost and Nairobi, I think their names were. And they were in the films, in the Matrix trilogy, but in the games, you got to do the stuff you didn't see them do in the films.
That's often a good choice, I think, with movie games, when they deviate to make the game better.
But it wasn't deviation. It was okay, we can't tell everyone's story in the game, so we're in the films, so we're going to tell their story in the game. Like, they were very much, you only get the full Matrix experience if you play the game and watch the films. They went in with that mindset, which I don't think's really been done before or since. It was a very much a complete package, and I thought that was a really cool kind of concept.
I mean, it does make you wonder why more people don't do it. Like with the Matrix game, like you said, you played out all of these things that were kind of implied and hinted in the movie. And I really don't know why more people don't do it.
It pissed a lot of people off at the time because when you think Matrix, you think Neo, you think Trinity, you think Morpheus, and you don't play as them in the games. I mean, there are small segments where you get to play as them, but the main characters you play as aren't who you think of when you think the Matrix. So that was the danger that they had, and that is why a lot of people didn't like it. They were like, "Oh, well, it's a Matrix game. I want to play as Neo." But they weren't seeing what they were trying to do with it by giving you more of the story, by making you play as these sort of other characters.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just me because I love the Matrix franchise. I'm on the fence about number 4, and I'm on the fence about number 3. But I love the franchise as a whole.
Hang on, there was a number 4?
There's a number 4 coming out soon.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Ironically, it was meant to come out yesterday. I'm sure I read a post somewhere saying that it was meant to be out yesterday.
I know it got delayed, so yeah. But I love the franchise, and I watched the movies when I was younger, sort of like 11 or 12 probably. And so for me, because I mean, when I was that age, I fucking loved them. I was like, oh my god, it's slow-mo and there's guns and oh wow. So to play a game that was based in that universe and helped me to learn more about that universe, I was personally like, I loved that. But I can see I can see why people might be pissed, especially if there's people who like don't play video games.
I think that's the problem. I think it was more casual gamers that had the loudest voice.
Yeah, because obviously to understand it, if you've got to, buy a game and you don't own a games console, then you're kind of losing out, really.
Plus, I suppose, kids with the pestle power as well. Matrix was massive. I remember the cinema release, and I think I went to see it at the cinema. I think we snuck in. I don't think I was old enough, but yeah, kind of the buzz about it was everybody was talking about this amazing film. So, I get why people were pissed, but looking back, if you look at what they tried to do, I think it's quite admirable to try and do something different instead of just a cash in. Oh, let's make an action game clone and put Neo in the lead, and they actually really tried to expand the story and the universe with it, and I think it was a really good attempt, even if it didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, I think the best of these movie games do well when they try to contribute to the story as opposed to approximate it. Because so many movies, certainly elements work in a video game, but not the whole thing, Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Spider-Man movie games in a minute, and you guys will see exactly what I mean. But like, it's you sometimes the game directors take creative decisions to make their video game about a movie better, and it sounds to me like the Enter the Matrix ones did exactly that. I'm in complete agreement with you, Dan.
Yeah, they did. I think the problem was back when, in the era of kind of PS1 and PS2 especially, a lot of movie games were just trying to cash in on the movies, and a lot of them it would almost be like you just played the movie again. It was just an extended version of the movie that you got to play, which, it's a nice idea, but what's the point in that? If you've seen the film, you want more from a game, and I think they've learned over the years, and I feel that kind of movie to games has only improved as time has gone on. They're much better now. There's less of them, and they tend to be of better quality than, when we were younger. God, every movie, especially kids' movies, every kids' movie that came out had at least 2 or 3 games, didn't it?
Like Stuart Little.
Oh, God, there was a Stuart Little game?
Yeah, I vaguely remember
Jesus.
that. I remember...
It was not good.
Yeah.
Did you control the plane? I think my brother had it. Bird in the plane. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's the one with you controlled the plane and you had to hide from James Woods, who was a bird. You controlled the car sometimes, and sometimes you just controlled the mouse. It's a very predictable 3D platformer of Stuart Little doing some adventures that are a bit like the film.
God. You've always said you hated platformers, and I'm starting to maybe see why. Did these particular games contribute to that?
As a child, I had no experiences with 2D platformers at all. 3D platformers I had some experiences with, because, Toy Story 2 is basically a 3D platformer, and not a lot of these movie games are a bit like that. But I've always hated 2D platforms. My first ever 2D platformer I ever played was the Impossible game, closely followed by Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Which is the best one.
Well, that's what people told me. I was just like, this is not very good. And I was friends with it. Well, I still am sort of friends with him. I just didn't see him much. A guy called Stevie. He's on the Gamma Scrim YouTube channel. He makes loads of Sonic content. He was just like, this is the best game ever. And I was like, are you sure? And he would play this all the time. And I played it. I was like, this isn't very good, Stevie. And he's like, it's so good. It is the best. It is Sonic. Look how fast he runs. And I realised at that point that platformers were not for me.
Can I ask?
Tails is a jerk.
Oh, Dan, your hatred of Tails is irrelevant to this conversation.
Yeah, let's not get too far off course, guys.
It's never irrelevant. I will always stand up for Tails' jerkiness, but Anyway, carry on.
No, I was just curious if the time that you stopped seeing Stevie so much was after you told him that Sonic 2 was shit.
No, I told him early into our friendship.
Oh, okay. He knew
He
going
knew
on.
my feelings.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's time in the podcast for Greg to discuss Spider-Man.
I've literally still got 5 games to talk about. But let's talk about the Spider-Man movie games, because they're the most substantive and interesting thing I've got left on the list, I think. The Spider-Man movie games. So there was Spider-Man 1, so this is the Sam Raimi trilogy, Spider-Man movie games. So Spider-Man 1, that was a PS1. No, it was PS2. Might have been both, actually. It was a PS2 game. This one was limited, okay? There's a reason why people talk about the Spider-Man 2 video game and not the Spider-Man 1 video game. Spider-Man 1, he swings around various, set skyboxes, and he does not swing on buildings, he swings on the sky. And he just does this really weird animation, and he beats up thugs on rooftops who always seem to be, people are mugging women up on the New York sky rooftops. It makes no sense, but it's a fun one to think about, and that follows the events of Spider-Man 1 relatively well. It also, however, adds in, as the other 2 Spider-Man games do, it adds in Spider-Man villains, and you have to fight them. I think the not Electro, Shocker is in it. And Spider-Man calls him the Cushion, which is, fun. That game, that one's not the best. I've replayed that one also quite recently. Spider-Man 2, the one that everyone talks about and says is, the best Spider-Man game until the recent ones came out. That game is quite good. It is, it's basically the same premise, except you actually swing on buildings. It was massive for the time. There was an actual New York you're swinging about. Not all the crimes take place on rooftops. They actually take place on the street. That is good. That is fun. And of course, the Spider-Man 2 film, people do like that film, and it sort of has that correspondence. Whereas Spider-Man 3, the film and movie game, he's sort of got a weird mixed taste in people's mouths because it's a weird film.
Is that the one... Sorry, is that the one with the black suit and Venom?
It is the one with the black suit and Venom.
Right, yeah.
The one that people have been, milking memes from for the last 15 years.
And those only work because I'm still consuming those memes every single day. That's only why there's an industry for that. So the Spider-Man 3 game is the one. This one's on 360, and PlayStation 3 is on that generation. So there's a graphical quality. Well, there's a graphical capacity upgrade, but the actual detail on the faces is often horrific. And there's the famous scene where there's a woman strapped to a bomb, and she's like, "Help, please!" And if you fail to save her, which is quite easy to fail to do, it's in the beginning of the mission, beginning of the game. There's a zoom up on her face, and she's going, "Oh no!" And her eyes are just super bulbous, and then and she explodes, and it's so funny.
What?
I'm not even joking. Me and Ozzy did a banterous rave of this years ago. You watch the video, type in banterous rave, Brits in Suits, Spider-Man 3. You can watch it. It's so funny. But that game itself, it is weird. And there's a type of repeating mission that takes place where they try to approximate the fact that Mary Jane and Spider-Man are getting on well in this film for the first half. But they don't know how to do it in the game. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where sometimes it should just leave it alone. They have they're called the Mary Jane Love Missions.
Oh, God.
Where he swings around the city with Mary Jane on his back, and she has 5 lines that she repeatedly says.
Oh my God, I randomly remembered this now. Yes.
Yeah. And she goes, "This is so fun, and swing faster and harder, and do it better, and jump, and all of this." And you have to swing into flying imaginary love hearts in New York, basically. And at the end of it, you put Mary Jane down, and she just goes, "That was another great date, Peter." and then you don't see her again for the whole film, like that, for the whole game. That's those are your only like exposures to the character. It's just this bizarre fucking thing that happens. But yeah, those are the Spider-Man movie games. I will talk about them all day if anyone will let me. I don't think you guys will let me, but do you have questions?
I have a controversial opinion with that because as a retro game connoisseur,
Gosh.
You can't be retro Dan and next gen Dan. Like it
I will
doesn't.
be what I want, and
You can't have past and present. There are 3 ghosts of Christmas, and you can't be 2 of 3.
You renamed me Next Gen Dan. I never agreed to this. It was put upon me.
You put it upon yourself by getting all the next-gen consoles, hoarding them to yourself like the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Shut up. Anyway, controversial opinion. So I love my retro games, and Spider-Man 2 was one that I missed. And all of the retro game kind of YouTubers and just anyone you talk to are like, oh yeah, no, Spider-Man 2, the movie game, you've got to play it. And I went back to it and I played it, and I wasn't impressed. I just found it very boring.
Out of curiosity, did you go back to Spider-Man 2 after having played the Insomniac game?
No, it was before. So it was...
Okay, fair enough.
So it was recent enough that it was... I think it might have been in the build up to the new Spider-Man coming out, because I feel like that was a long time. I feel like they announced it and it took a long time to come out.
I felt like that too.
I think I might have gone to it then, and I went into it kind of, you know, when you do call yourself a retro gamer, you kind of have to. There is a certain level of give that you have to have. You know, when you do go back to these old games, some of them are because you've got nostalgia for them. Some of them are difficult to play because of the difficulty level, and some of them, you know, kind of. Back if you're going right back to kind of 8-bit and 16-bit games, a lot of them don't save, so it's a case of you can get halfway through it, lose all your lives, and have to start again. So you kind of have to have a little bit of give when it comes to that. So it's not like I went into Spider-Man expecting, oh my god, this is going to be like the one on the PS4 that I'm waiting for. I went in expecting, you know, it's a retro game, it's going to be a bit rough around the edges, but I mean, swinging through the city was fun, but other than that, I found the combat very dull. I found the bosses very dull. It I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me. I don't know if it's because I missed it the first time round or.
Did you play any of the pizza missions?
Probably, but they're not jumping out in my memory. So.
If you played them, you'd remember them. They're good fun. They have this jaunty little tune, which you will be able to find easily on YouTube. It's like. The funnest little thing, and you just swing around the city delivering pizzas. It's basically a mini game, but it's how Spider-Man, like, I think in the game earns like enough money to continue like the quests. Basically, it's like he has to balance his life. That's what that film is about. So the game is a bit about that. Okay. So he's like, eventually you do get fired from the job in the game, as you do as he does in the film. But those little missions are a sprinkling of joy in a game which, admittedly, now it is, you know, it is okay now, but back then it was proper crazy good.
Fair. I will definitely look up the pizza thing.
You won't. You don't care. You'll, as soon as this is done, you're going to go, I can't believe I put up with him for another week. Next week, I'm going to tell him what I really think.
Okay, well, moving on. Then I have another one that has that came to mind, and I just wondered if either of you two played it, and I'm interested to see what your opinions are. The PS2 movie tie-ins to the Lord of the Rings films.
Oh, that's my next one. I'm so happy you picked that.
As I say, that sounds right up Greg's street, but no, I personally never touched them.
Oh, tell me about it, Dan. Go on.
Okay, well, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. Really, really good movie tie-ins. They were very... I must admit, they were very much... You played the films. They didn't deviate hugely. They realised that the films had big parts. So you had certain wars. You had, the part where you were in the dwarven mines, and you had the parts where, that they were very specific parts of the film, and they made sure they carried them in the games. And they kind of, I feel, went in relatively confidently that they'd do well, because they made them were there 2 or 3 of them? I think
there was Lord of the Rings Two Towers and Lord of the Rings Return of the King.
Yeah.
There's also a Fellowship of the Ring game, which I recently discovered and have bought, and I'm waiting to play it with Ozzy when COVID is over.
So what is that? That wasn't part of the? Was that part of the movie tie-in with those 2?
They're all 3 movie tie-ins.
Well,
Actually, I don't know, to be fair. Fellowship of the Ring, the graphics on that game do not look like they're related to the film. They do not look like they're taking the same art direction. So I don't know, to be fair.
I only remember the 2, but I remember it ending on kind of the cliffhanger. Like, not cliffhanger so much, but I remember it not ending until you got into the next one. But you got to play as all your favourite characters, and you...
Yeah, Legolas and that other guy.
Yeah, that's right, then.
Yeah, Aragorn.
I know of the rings.
Was it Aragorn? I think you could be Aragorn, Legolas, or Gandalf.
Which one? In Two Towers, you could be Gimli as well, I think. Possibly.
Yeah, that rings a bell. And I just remember having so much fun with it, just killing waves and waves and waves of orcs, and to the point where it was one where I was almost looking forward to finishing it with whatever character I was playing as, because I wanted to go through and play it as someone else. They all had very different styles. Obviously, one like Legolas was ranged, Aragorn had his sword, Gandalf had magic, and Gimli had small. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
an axe. He said that you will have my axe.
But yeah, I just thought. They were great fun. They just set out to, we made these films. They're big, they're epic. We're going to make a game where you just get to kill lots and lots of things. Go for it. And yeah, I just remember really, really liking them.
Sounds like everything Shadow of War should have been.
I mean, I didn't think Shadow of War was horrendous, but Greg, what is your opinion on the PS2 versions?
I like Two Towers a lot. Two Towers is really good. It's very hacky and slashy. Return of the King is also very good. You get to play a lot more characters. It's sort of different. It's sort of a broader experience, and not necessarily. It felt a bit like Two Towers was a bit of a deeper experience in ways I can't quite explain. But I did like them both a lot. I have a lot of good feelings about them. Return of the King, which I've played recently. I've recently done a lot of retro games, as you can tell. Return of the King, I think, actually holds up pretty well. And actually, I like their strategy game related tie-ins as well. Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth. They are good fun. Neither of you are going to know about them because I know you're not keen on strategy. But they are good games. You literally play through the entire storyline of Fellowship of the Ring to Return of the King. Well, starting in Mines of Moria, which is towards the end of the first one. And yeah, you basically do it all as a strategy game where you build up Rohan and you build up Gondor, or you can do it as the evil guys and do an alternate version where you kill Boromir and you also kill other members of the Fellowship and you kill the hobbits and stuff. It's fun.
Yay!
Killing hobbits. That's hobbits.
I understood some of those words.
You never watched Lord of the Rings.
What other games do you have on your list, Greg?
Why have you never seen them? I mean, yeah, okay. It shouldn't take a week to watch 3 films, but they are good.
No, so I watched Fellowship of the Ring, and I watched some of Twin Towers.
Two Towers, not
Two
Twin Towers.
Yeah, Twin Towers is a different thing.
Twin Towers is a different thing.
Very different thing.
But I think the reason I didn't enjoy them is because I was about 13 or 14, and my granddad loves the Hobbit books and he loves the Lord of the Ring books, and he loves the movies as well. And he decided the way to introduce me to the movies was a back-to-back marathon.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I got about 5 hours into the marathon and I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore.
I mean, he sounds like a great guy, and you were wrong for not enjoying the marathon.
I was 14. All I wanted to do was play video games. I didn't want to sit and watch Lord of the Rings.
For 9 hours.
Yeah, now I'm an educated man of somewhat good culture. I may revisit them and see how they are.
They're definitely worth a watch. The games, to me, are very much, they are my Italian job. I haven't been back to them, but that's been a very conscious, deliberate decision because I just remember having a great time and really enjoying them, and I feel like I played them to death. You know, I completed them with all the characters, both of them, and I just feel like I'm happy to leave that in the past.
I think I do think they hold up, Dan. I think you can take that risk.
Okay.
That's
good to know.
I've got 2 more on my list, and I'm going to run through them quickly because there's not actually that much to say about them. Iron Man 1, the video game, based on the hit Iron Man film. It is alright, you fly around and you say things like, Jarvis, what do we do over here? And then you shoot some terrorists, and that's Iron Man 1. America, yeah, a little bit of America. And then, of course, Tarzan, which you guys reminded me of a little bit ago. The Tarzan PS1 game is quite cute. It's actually, I suppose it is a 2D platformer, so I suppose that probably was my first 2D platformer.
It's in a similar vein to, like, Hercules and stuff, right? I vaguely remember swinging through some jungle backgrounds.
You swing through jungle backgrounds and you slide along branches a lot.
Yes, I remember in this now.
And then you have Philip Collins accompanying you. Is it Phil Collins who sings? I can't remember who did the soundtrack.
Philip Collins.
You have. I think it is him. You have him singing along in the background, you know, and making all the fun music. And so, as a result, that music has quite a special place in my heart because the film is, you know, it's all right in it. But the game I would have replayed many times as a child, clearly, because all of the songs just hit me in a place.
I don't know that I've ever seen the Tarzan movie.
Don't watch the Brendan Fraser one. The animated one is.
Fraser is a man who turns everything he touches to gold.
Wait, isn't that George of the Jungle?
Wait,
that is George of the Jungle.
George of the Jungle, yeah. No, ignore me.
George of the Jungle. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently it's in that one.
Tarzan's good. I like the Tarzan animated movie.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Okay, I'm just before we stop because I think we're coming towards the end of the time. I just want to do 2 honourable mentions for games that I randomly just remembered while Greg was talking. I don't remember how I ended up playing it, but the Batman beat 'em up games, I don't know if they classify as movie tie-ins. You know, like the arcadey Batman. They were very similar to like sort of Streets and Rage and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they were, but weren't they based on the?
They were based on the Tim Burton one, weren't they?
I was going to go with the George Clooney ones. I feel like.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, no, the
like
Batman Forever and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and pretty much any Lego adaptation of a movie is normally guaranteed to be great. But that's just because it's Lego.
Well, people like Lego.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the early ones, I remember playing through Indiana Jones with a friend, and it just being so frustrating that we ended up. No, I don't think we gave up. I think we powered through, but I don't think we talked for several weeks after finishing it because it was very much. They hadn't thought much about the co-op, so it would only follow one of the players, so the other player would. If you tried to walk off the screen, it would drag the other player along and pull them off the edge, and oh god, it was awful.
I think around the time of like late PS3, early PS4, they changed that. So if you ran away a certain distance from each other, the screen split diagonally, and you each basically had your own screen.
Yeah, I've played them since, and they are exponentially better. But the first few, I think Indiana Jones was quite early on the list when it comes to the movie tie-ins. They were not great.
Yeah, playing the Star Wars ones solo, I enjoyed. And I enjoyed, me and Ellie played Lego Marvel Avengers together, and that was fun. But yeah, that's me done. I don't have any more. Do you have any to add, Dan?
My only honourable mention is, did anyone play, I very much doubt this, but the Riddick game on the first Xbox?
This is a game that when I was doing a wee bit of research prior to this, the Chronicles of Riddick game came up on a top 10 list of games based on films, but I don't remember playing it.
It was good. It was very stealth based. It was based on the film
Chronicles of Riddick.
It wasn't. It was obviously Pitch Black was the first film he was in, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
good. Which was the sci-fi one with all the alien things that were trying to kill them, and then the second one was completely, let's just focus on Riddick, and it was based on he was escaping from the prison. So it was very much stealth-based, sneaking around. Graphically, it looked very good for the time, and I think everyone was surprised because it was a movie tie-in game that didn't suck, because there was a lot of stick back then. When you think original Xbox, you're thinking kind of down the era of PS2 and the constant tie-ins. You know, every movie had one, and they would just copy-paste crap, most of them. So yeah, it was good. Well worth a look.
Yep. I think we guys have done a good job of putting together a couple of movie tie-in games that we have positive feelings about, and I think plenty of them are probably okay now, which is nice.
Yeah, I definitely, just to round off, I do want to say I think that games based on films do exponentially better than films based on games.
Yes, I think so too. Well, because there's so many of them that they have a better chance of a good hit ratio.
That KD's better.
Pertinent to say at the moment when the Monster Hunter movie reviews are doing the rounds, and I think that's all we'll say about that.
That's a nice 3 out of 10 from GameSpot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that because I know bits and pieces, and I was getting messages from a very angry Reese. Very, very angry Reese. Because Monster Hunter is like his game of this generation. He's put God knows how many hundreds of hours into it. And he was rather pissed that they essentially just butchered it.
So I will say one last thing before we end, though. What I never understood about when they make a movie of a game is why they have to, like with the first Resident Evil, the games are good, they've got a decent story, you know, why don't they just kind of pick up on that story, give it to show it to a wider audience? Why do they always make something that is completely it manages to piss off the people that play the games because it's nothing like them, and then piss off the people that don't play the games because they're bad films?
It must just be something about Mia Djokovic.
Not just her, not just Resident Evil, but I mean in general.
No, but I mean, she was in Monster Hunter and that was awful. She was in Resident Evil and that was awful. I mean, the other movies that she's in that aren't tied to video games are decent movies, but anytime she's involved in a video game movie, it just seems to not be particularly great.
Poor girl.
Well, anyway, thank you, boys, for joining me again this week.
That's all right.
You're very welcome.
Thank you guys for listening to our little podcast. And we should be back next week with a different topic that we will probably decide on Friday and then very rushly reschedule.
Yeah, we'll work it out in the morning. It'll be great.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.